Happy New Year, happy Year of the Snake, happy full moon in Cancer. Actually, we are not officially into the Year of the Snake because that begins like on January 29th. That's when we're going to have the Chinese Lunar Year, the Chinese New Year, and that's going to be the Year of the Snake, but we are not yet there. How has your year begun? How is it? How has it been? We're literally in the second week, ending the second week of 2025. Today I was like, oh, it's the second week of 2025. And in my head, I was thinking, the second week of 2025 is beginning. Then I sat and thought, wait, it's not beginning, it's ending. And when this podcast comes up, it's going to be the 14th of January 2025. That means that's the last day of the second week of 2025. And I'm like, I can't believe we are halfway through January. Because once January is over, February is a short month. It's not a leap year. 2025 is not a leap year. So February is going to whoosh. And then it's going to be March. And then it's going to be April and May. And then we're going to be at December. And January already began on a crazy note. I can speak for myself. I've seen what's happening in the world, but I can also speak for myself. It's been crazy. Like I remember, I did the grapes thing, and then I had all these fireworks, and I went out to look at the fireworks after I was done with my grapes thing. And it was so beautiful. And I felt excited for the new year. Little did I know that the 1st of January was going to be something else. And also on top of that, this is the year of my nodal reversal. I'm heading towards my Saturn return. It's a year of my nodal reversal. The nodes have already reversed. Like I was born with my north node in Virgo, my south node in Pisces, and now my north node it's now north node in Pisces, south node in Virgo. So it's really been a lot. It's been a lot, but I can't say, oh, I came prepared, I came unprepared. I feel like I'm in a gunfight with a knife. That's just how I feel like. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a gunfight with a toothpick. Like you can see all the things I've been feeling ever since the beginning of the year. And on that note, I have decided going forward, given how the 1st of January itself was, I am no longer scripting my podcast episodes. I listen to myself sending voice notes, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of insight. That's so much knowledge, wisdom. That is so rich. And whenever I'm doing the scripted episodes, ever since Triangulated in last year's episodes when we began the wall, I was feeling stressed. I was feeling pressured. So I was trying to be perfect with reading what I'm reading and displaying my emotions. And I when I was writing them, when I was writing the episodes down, I was like scripting them. I was like feeling a certain type of way. And now reading them and I'm getting into my emotions. And I was feeling like I'm not delivering these messages how I would like them to be delivered. And I know it's gonna be an uphill task for me to now transcribe my episodes since I'm talking freely and everything, but I think it's worth it. Now, going back to the full moon in Cancer, the full moon, as we've discussed in past episodes, full moons represent things coming full circle. Like a cycle is closing. A cycle is closing energetically, but you can actually decide not to close the cycle. And the moon rules Cancer. And this full moon is in the sign of Cancer. In December, the first new moon of December was in the sign of Cancer. And we ended December with a new moon in Capricorn. Literally. I think about it, I'm like, what cycle is this that's beginning? Like, because I'm like, oh my god, that's a lot of hardship. And I tie it down to how my new year began. I'm like, what is happening? But I'm actually excited because this year has begun on a very crazy note. Like whatever happened on the 1st of January, I could not help but laugh. And it didn't end there. On the 2nd, there was something. On the 3rd, on the 4th, on the 5th, on the 10th, on the 12th. It's been going on and on and on. And I'm like, okay, it's crazy. And I can't wait for next year, New Year's, even December this year to be like, to look at everything I've written because I've started writing in my journal every single day. Every single day, I'm journaling how that day was, what happened ever since the first, and I'm doing it all the way to the 31st. Before, I would journal maybe weekly, or I'd be like, maybe sometimes I'll journal more than twice or thrice a week. But this time, I'm doing it 7 days a week. I'm going writing, handwriting in my journal. And there's some days, I'll be honest, I haven't opened my journal and written in it, but that's okay because when I was too lazy or I was unable to write in my journal, I wrote the notes down, picked up my phone before I slept, and typed down about that day because I'm like, if I have to print whatever I've typed down, I will print it and stick it in my journal. Okay, that was one long intro, and if you've noticed, we don't have this because I was getting sick and tired of the cable. It's a beautiful microphone, but I feel like I need a corner space for my podcast and a desk to put this down and use this well. So we've moved to this. I had actually bought this and I bought this because I was like, I wanted to see the difference in quality and sound. And I'm so glad I did get two different items. For people listening to me on Spotify, I am talking about a pink microphone. I have a podcast microphone. Then I also have the lapel that you stick onto your shirt, and both of them are pink. The guys listening on podcast, you can see, but both of them are pink. And that was a long intro talking about how 2025 is totally unexpected. And not just for me, I mean, like generally in the whole world, 2025 is going to be that year. You cannot tell. You're going to be like, what even was that, and we're just going through it and going through it. And for me, in as much as it's been crazy, I am excited because at least it's not boring. At least it's not boring. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see where my life is heading. And I don't even want to act like shocked or anything because for years now I've been talking about Saturn returns and how things get, and I've always said it begins between age 27 and 30, not necessarily when you're 30, like from age 27. Don't wait to be 30 and be like, oh my God, my Saturn return is beginning. It starts before that. Even if you look up your chart and you see, oh, my Saturn return is beginning when I'm 29, actually at 28, then it's like thrice until I'm 30, there's another one at 30. It's because, retrograding and all of that, depending on how your chart is and everything, but it begins earlier. You start feeling the effects like way earlier. I knew for a fact that by the time I'm getting to 27, things are going to get crazy. And I'm past 27, I'm getting closer to 28. Why am I saying that? I'm quite literally 28 anyway. I've been quite literally 28 for a while now. And I've been asked my age and I keep saying 28. I don't even know why ever since I turned 27 I've been saying I'm 28. I guess I'm a year ahead already. And that's kind of scary. Why am I skipping 27? Like subconsciously, I already decided, you know what? Nope, I'm skipping 27. And it reminds me of this poem I wrote years ago. And I think the poem was titled Empty. And it's something about, you know what? Let me just look it up. But it's something about something, something, something is not as, this page is not as empty as, and it's a blank page, and then the poem is at the end of the page. It's something about this, how you made me feel, how my life is not as empty as this blank page. And I'm actually like opening up that poem. I'm looking it up. It's in my book called Black and White Are Not Colors. And God help me not to be too lazy when editing this podcast, because if I'm not too lazy, I'm actually going to insert a screenshot of this particular poem, maybe even a screen recording of this particular poem, so you can see how blank this page is. I'm not sure if it was at the end, it was the last edge in 20, it was the last poem in 2019 or 2018. I'm not quite sure. I'm even looking for the title. It must have been in the beginning. Let's see. Yeah, the title must have been Skip This Chapter in the beginning. And then we scroll. No, that is, oh my God. And this particular chapter is called I Shall Skip This Chapter. It's tragic. And it's talking about me being 27, and I don't even know why I actually keep saying I am 28. And yeah, the poem is titled Blank. It's way after Skip This Chapter. and it's literally a blank page, and I scroll and I scroll, and I'm even seeing the scroller is like almost tiny, and I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling. Then you get to the bottom and it says the blank screen is not as empty as me. Oh my god, the time I wrote that poem, the time I wrote skip this chapter, dark days, dark days, oh Lord. And I am proud of myself for making it through those dark days, because if I made it through those dark days, I'm going to make it through 2025. Now, something I've done is I have filled the year compass. I don't know if any of you know about the year compass, and I just want to open where it says 2025 because I printed it out and I did not print the cover. This 2025 says the year ahead 2025. I did not print the cover for 2024, and I don't want to show you because, okay, I can fold a bit because I don't want to show you everything that's in my 2020. Okay, I doodled quite a lot here. I don't want to show you guys the details. My 2024, and it starts with the past year, going through your calendar, and it's talking about go through your calendar week by week. If you see any important event, family gathering, friendly get together, or a significant project, write it down here. And I did feel it. So many people's birthdays. I even wrote the astrological transits that saved, like Venus in Pisces started on 26th of January. I think it ended in March or in February. I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, on April 9th, Venus in Pisces ended. I'm not sure. Did I overdo that? Why was Venus in Pisces that long? January 26th to 5th of April. I thought it was supposed to be longer this year. And we're currently in Venus in Pisces. And Venus is strong, is exalted in Pisces. And the moon is strong in Cancer, like as I was saying. So whatever is going to happen, whatever this full moon is bringing, that's been something very emotional. Oh, I'm so grateful. It means whatever I was going to, whatever opened on the 1st of December 2024, it's literally ending.
Actually, that's supposed to be whatever started on July 6th, 2024, because that's when we had a new moon in Cancer. It's ending. I don't know why I keep saying that December began with a new moon in Cancer. It began with a new moon in Sagittarius, not Cancer. I do not know where this warped version of time is coming from. Maybe I'm gonna check Vedic astrology. I'm going to check like different branches of astrology and see why my mind keeps thinking of timelines that really are not here.
And then this month is going to end. I think it's going to end with a new moon in no, it's not gonna end, but the new moon at the end of this month, okay, it's in Aquarius, it's not in Capricorn or anything. So the next full moon in Capricorn is going to end whatever it is I was going through, or whatever it is I've been going through in whatever it is. Oh my God. And that full moon in Capricorn is far away. It's far away. Oh my God, it's far away. It's not even next month, it's not even in February, not even in March. But it's okay because I know, oh my God, it's in July. It is in July. It's gonna be in July. But it's okay. Whatever the case is, I'm gonna do the work. I'm gonna do the hard work and everything. I'm gonna do hard things. The good thing with Capricorn is wherever Capricorn is, as long as you're responsible, as long as you do the hard things, the hard work and stuff, you get rewarded. And this can't be as hard as the life I have gone through, my childhood. It cannot be as hard as that. Yeah, so talking about the year compass, the past year, and now when I was filling it up and all and writing all the birthdays, I was feeling so sad because I'm like, look at all these people I considered and they did not consider me at all. Then the next part is this is what my last year was about when it comes to personal life and family, career and studies, friends, community, relaxation, hobbies, creativity, mental health, physical health, fitness, mental health, self knowledge, habits that define you. And I'm just going to read those. I'm going to actually read habits that define me. Strict, buying books, sleeping in, social media breaks, writing, observing. Those habits, they define me. They define me a lot. I am very strict. That one I am not changing. I'm not changing. I'm gonna be strict till the day I die. But being strict does not mean being mindless, does not mean being harsh, being unfeeling. It does not mean that You don't care about other people's feelings and everything. You can be strict but still be mindful. You can be strict but still be considerate. And that's something I've been working on. I've been figuring out, have I been mindless about people's feelings, people's opinions that people are coming from? And it's kind of hard because being someone like me who is always right, someone's gonna get mad at you, but I'm always right. Who is always right and you're strict, it gets to the point where you're actually robotic. And because you're always right, you have a track record of always being right, you really do forget that people have feelings. And just because you know the answers doesn't mean people actually have to take your answers. And it makes you start taking things personally, like they didn't listen to me and stuff, and I was right and everything. Now, the problem with always being right, which is something I actually wrote, where did I write it? Yeah, it was now in the next part, which is about 6 sentences about my past year. And the biggest lesson I learned, and I'm going to read it for you, was that being right makes people hate you. So it's best to keep your knowledge and insight to yourself so you can see people for exactly who they are. When they think you know nothing, are stupid and miserable. And even if you're not always right, I feel like you need to know that you need to see people for exactly who they are. When they think you know nothing, you are stupid and you're miserable. Because I have grown up being miserable, I have grown up being seen as stupid and knowing nothing. I have grown up always being told no and I'm wrong. Like, I mean it constantly. I say something and I'm told I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm always right. I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have grown up in an environment that has conditioned me to believe to the point where I know deep down inside I am wrong and I can never be right. It's so crazy. Even up to today, I could say something and I'm always being told you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I have grown up in an environment where people are obsessed with proving me wrong. People will jump through hoops to prove me wrong. It's crazy. It's good I'm out of that environment. So when I stopped proving myself, when I stopped sharing my insight and my knowledge and stuff, I really got to see people for who they are, took off the rose tinted glasses, and it's crazy. It is crazy. So we'll now look at something else. 6 questions about my past year. And this was felt like a very intimate part to feel because it was, what am I most proud of? Who are the 3 people who influenced me the most? Who are the 3 people I influenced the most? And the part of the influence, I had to sit down. I was like, who have I influenced? And about the people who've actually told me I have influenced them. I thought about them and I was like, yeah, I really did influence people. And now looking at who influenced me. Last year, I was like, oh my God, this person is such a great influence in my life. These communities are such great influences in my life. These friendships. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. Maybe I edited it out in the episodes last year. When I'm talking about, I didn't even mention to those episodes about friendships. And I was looking at different friend groups I am not in, but I've been observing and I'm like, wow, what it takes to be a friend. Am I a friend? And those friend groups have influenced me. If you've invited me to your event, if you invited me to your event last year, to your home last year, by the way, you influenced me. I looked at what family means to you, what friendship means to you, what community means to you. And by that, I've never had any of that. And I was like, I'm definitely going to be a better person because I am seeing how you guys are friends to each other, family to each other, and I am learning a lot. I've obviously had my own definition of friendship, community, family, written it down, try to be that person who I want to be for other people. It's worked against me, by the way. Turns out you can be a friend to somebody, but they're not a friend to you. You can be family to somebody, and they're not family to you at all. At all. Then there's a part where what were you not able to accomplish? And this is something I've been transparent to myself about. This is a section I've been transparent to myself about prior to doing this year compass. What is the best thing you have discovered by yourself? And I just wrote, in fact, I'm actually gonna, let me just show you. And I hope my lighting is not interfering with anything, but what is the best thing you have discovered about yourself? And that is, I am who is like God. For real, for real, for real. You can't change me. You can't make me think others about myself. Once it's even in my name. Michelle means who is like God, and I'm a Leo. So yeah. And then, what are you most grateful for? I am most grateful for myself. I took some time to read some of my entries in my journals as a teenager when I was in high school. Even the poem I've read for you guys from my book, Black and White Are Not Colors, two poems actually. And I look at where I've come from, that's a lot. I have looked at my old posts in social media pages people don't know I have. They've just been secret when I was a teenager back then. I have read some of my stories. I have read letters I was writing as a teenager back then. Letters I've written to future me, like up to age 30. I have letters I wrote for myself when I was a teenager, like when I'm 30, when I'm like old and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I've come from so far. Like there's this website called Dear Future Me, and I've read letters from myself from the past. I've had letters delivered to myself, and I'm still writing letters to future me. And I'm like, oh my God, Michelle, oh my God, I've made you proud. I have made you proud. And then the last thing on the year compass for the past year is the best moments. And I'll read it for you. Describe the greatest and most memorable moments, joyful moments from last year. Draw them on this sheet. How did you feel? Who was there with you? What were you doing? What kind of smells, sounds, or tastes do you remember? And when I was writing this, all I could remember was this write down list actually to me address, and I thought, oh yeah, I just have to list the greatest and most memorable moments. So I listed and listed, and then I was like, oh my God, I remember this, I remember that, this and that, everything. I remember all these things. Then I went back to read, and I was like, how did you feel? Who was there with you? Now I was writing who was there with you. And let me just read for you. The first one, I was alone. The next one, I was alone. The next one, I was alone. The next one, I was alone. I was alone. I was alone. I was alone. And I was like, it's not been all in my head that I've been alone through so much, because I was thinking I've really been alone through so much, and I would be sad and I would wish that the people who are there for me and everything. And writing this down, I was like, yeah, I for real have been alone. Okay, so the last thing, that was the last thing. I really have been alone, going through so much alone, the highs and the lows. And to me, that speaks so much about myself, my tenacity, my resilience, the power within me, the way I don't give up on myself. It says so much about me. And then the last thing, okay, the second last thing, then the last thing. Okay, not even second last thing or the last thing. Okay, they still start here. So I'll just read this and then the second last, the next page, and then we'll move on to whatever is on in my notes. So three of my biggest accomplishments. What did you do to achieve this? Who helped you achieve these successes? This part of who helped me to achieve these successes and how, very, very, very important. There's also the part for the biggest challenges, where you list your three biggest challenges from the past year. And oh my God, I even forgot that I wrote. And one of the biggest challenges I wrote was dealing with loneliness. Wow, that's crazy. And then who or what helped you overcome these challenges, and what have you learned about yourself by overcoming these challenges? I have learned that I am divinely guided and protected, and I am the universe's favorite, because the things I did go through last year, the whole of last year, if I was not divinely guided and protected, oh my God, what would I be now? Where would I be? Nothing. And then there's a part on forgiveness, and it says, did anything happen during the past year that still needs to be forgiven? Deeds or words that made you feel bad? Are you angry with yourself? Write it down here. And then there's an asterisk, do yourself good by forgiving. When it comes to forgiveness, I personally believe that the person who deserves forgiveness the most is yourself. Just forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And when we talk about forgiveness, is like drinking poison, waiting for that person to die or something. Have you ever seen somebody seeking forgiveness? Or forgiveness is like putting yourself in prison and expecting somebody else to prison. Have you seen somebody seeking forgiveness? By the way, have you seen, like, between you and the person who is seeking for forgiveness, who looks like they're drinking poison, like they serve it to themselves, who looks like they're in prison? And then the entitlement that they come with, that you must forgive them and forget and stuff and everything. I personally believe that the person who deserves forgiveness is yourself. You who went through one thing or another. Forgive yourself. Like, don't be mad at yourself. Don't be angry. Feel everything. Forgive yourself. You did the best you could do with the information and knowledge you had at that time. Forgive yourself. And this is what I wrote. And this is in the wise words of my friend Wakesho. Forgiveness is from the Lord, not me. And I am a firm believer in that. Forgiveness is from the Lord and not me. And I like adding, best of luck finding the God of forgiveness. The Lord of forgiveness. Best of luck. Best of luck. So we move on to the next thing. And the next thing, I did mention this is the year of the snake, right? And you know how a snake is always shedding its skin, and a snake doesn't just shed its skin at once. Slowly, slowly, like slowly, slowly. So I'm not gonna know how this year is gonna be, by the way. Like, things will keep on revealing themselves and you will be shocked. You will be very shocked. I know I'm gonna be shocked, but it's whatever. I'm still gonna be the survivor. I'm still gonna emerge victorious, even though I've got into a gunfight with a knife, even though I've got into a gunfight with a toothpick. I'm going to emerge victorious. I don't need to be in a gunfight with a gun and emerge victorious. How many soldiers, how many people go to war with guns and they don't emerge victorious? How many? So many. I'm gonna be that victorious one who joined with a toothpick, with a knife. What's There's a song I heard. Uh, Something about you win the battle or something. The war. I've forgotten, but it's crossed my mind, but I don't quite remember it well. I'll look up the lyrics and go listen to it, and maybe that's a message for somebody. Maybe somebody listening to this is actually thinking of that song. You want the bat? Oh, I think it's Antonio Soul. Yeah, it must be Antonio Soul. It must be one of Antonio Soul's songs. It must be one of Antonio Soul's songs. I'll find out. I'll remember it. Anyone who slanders you is taking on your bad karma, and it makes so much sense. You see how I was talking about I've grown up in an environment where I'm not supported in any way, and people will go through hoops to prove me wrong. Now, I've grown up in an environment where I was slandered like nobody's business. Slandered like nobody's business. And I remember ever since I was a child, all the horrible things that were said about me, the isolation that ensued, how I started becoming someone who is trying to defend herself, clear her name, justify herself, prove herself. And then one day I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. Let people say whatever it is they want to say. Like, I've been slandered so much, so bad by every single person. I mean it. Every single, you can sit down and list people. And I'm talking about in family, both sides, paternal, maternal. Every single person. Nobody is innocent. Every single person. I mean it. Like, sit down and think of every single relative. Everyone that you could possibly share DNA with. I don't have a child, so thank God there's no child of mine who is slandering me. But every single person. I mean it. Every single person. And it used to break my heart so bad, because I'm a Leo anyway. It used to break my heart so bad. So bad. It used to hurt me so bad. But it gets to a point where, people who live with chronic pain, it gets to a point where they've broken the scale in pain, that even when they're at a level 10 of pain, they're just there and they're like, oh yeah, I'm feeling painful. I feel like all my bones are breaking. I feel like I'm losing my mind and stuff. And they're just there eating a bag of crisps, sucking a lollipop. They're just there watching a movie, laughing, and nobody's taking them serious. It got to that point where I'm like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. Say what you want. I'm way past it. I used to care so much to the point where I don't care. And as I was saying, anyone who slanders you takes on your bad karma, and it makes so much sense, because I used to think I'm such an unlucky child, I'm such an unlucky person, so many bad things. And then because I used to have a bad stroke of luck. I used to have bad luck, like nobody's business, bad stroke of luck. Then one day I realized, wait, what happened to the bad luck? Because all the horrible things that used to happen to me stopped happening, by the way. They stopped happening. Like that thing where you always drop your eggs, they break. You always break a glass. You always skid. It's always you who sits in the bad seat. It's always you who something horrible is happening to. It literally stopped. And I started noticing that my life was beginning to get better, but every single person who slandered me, treated me badly. It's like the life is going downhill. There's just something happening to them. And I'm just there like, I'm just watching, I'm observing. I'm not laughing or anything, but I'm like, hmm. And then when I read this tweet, for anyone who slanders you takes on your bad karma, I'm like, it makes so much sense. And then I wrote, so be okay with being the villain in people's stories. And yesterday or 2 days ago, I opened my TikTok and I think it was Nicki Minaj, somebody singing Nicki Minaj's audio and talking about you people talking bad about you and stuff. And on this person particular video, it was like, I'm okay being the villain in your story because in mine you're the loser. And yeah, people who are slandering you are the losers in your story. Be okay with being the villain in people's stories. Every time you watch movies, cartoons, animations, and you see the villain's origin story, you're like when you were kids, okay, according me when I was a kid, I used to like understand and I'm like, yeah, I can see where you came from, by the way. And I would be like, why is everybody romanticizing this good person when they've actually been a horrible person to make this person bad like this? So you can see the villain's origin story, and you're like, now as adults, yeah, we do understand. And then something else I wrote here was, if we went back to the 2020 systems and there was a lockdown, would you be happy with who you are? Would you be happy with who you're locked down with? Like, sit down and think about it. Think about it. If you had to be locked in a house, because before it used to be a hypothetical question, if you were trapped in a room with this person or that person, what would happen? How would it be? Then it actually happened in 2020. And know that it's a longer hypothetical situation scenario. It can happen. Okay, so yeah, would you be happy with who you could hypothetically be locked down with? Because what I do know, I'm not sure who I told recently, but what I do know is the people who choose themselves, even when it doesn't make any sense. You just wake up and choose yourself. You're going to reap the fruits of your labor. Seriously, in a way that does not make sense at all. And I mean this like as a spiritual worker. Take this as a message. That's like a spiritual download I got. And now I'm sharing with you guys publicly. The people who chose themselves when it does not make sense. The people who took that risk on themselves when it makes absolutely zero sense. The people who learned the virtue of selfishness. 2025 going forward, the whole of Pluto in Aquarius, the way your life is just going to shift in some crazy astronomical way, like blessings. In Kenya we say Mungu bariki wengine utaniua na baraka, meaning God bless other people because you're actually gonna kill me with blessings. That's how you're going to feel, because you will not, it's not going to make sense. Nothing is going to make sense at all this year and going forward. It will not make sense at all. So when you think about where you are right now, you realize that the people who you're born with as family members don't actually treat you like family. Like I know as a kid and growing up for the greater part of my life, the reason I held onto my family of origin, people who I shared DNA with, is because in Lilo and Stitch, Ohana means family, and that means nobody gets left behind. So I was scared of leaving anyone behind, one, and two, I really did not want to leave anyone behind who is family. I was holding on to everyone, every single person. I did not want to leave anyone behind. But I did not realize that I'm holding on to people who left me behind long before I could even know how to speak. Yeah, it's that bad. It's that bad. It's that bad. Long before I could know how to speak. People left me behind long time ago. I didn't see it, I didn't realize it, and I kept on running to them and wanting to hold hands, and nobody wants to hold my hand. Nobody wants to go ahead with me at all. And these people are going to come across this podcast, and they're going to be so upset at what I'm saying. They're like, no, we didn't do that. Oh my God, she views us so badly and everything. No, she's the bad guy. I don't care if I'm the bad guy in your story. Go ahead. I've always been the bad guy in your story, by the way. But this is exactly what happened. It's it was so heartbreaking, and I've kept on talking about heartbreak and stuff. It was so heartbreaking. And something else, the moon is going to be in Cancer for like 14 minutes short of 11 hours, about 14 minutes, 14 to 12 minutes short of 11 hours. Then it moves into Leo. So the full moon is going to be in Leo. And Leo is ruled by the sun. And Leo is a powerful, fiery sign. And Leo rules the heart. So now you see the heart is meeting emotions and stuff. So things are going to be intense. Things are actually already intense and stuff. And I like that that's when this episode is going up. So yeah, they're going to be upset at what I'm posting. I feel like they actually are, because last year, because I wrote here about being silent. So last year when I was observing people decided to be silent, it's like everybody iced me out. Everyone iced me out. And I was like thinking, when I sat down and thought, what happens if I don't chat? Like now I'm saying, I was so scared of leaving anyone behind who I consider family. I was holding on to everyone because Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind. But I was left behind a long time ago. I'm done with when people don't want to be held on to by me. The by me's is in silence. I was holding on to people who do not want to be held on to by me. And I repeat, the by me is silent. So whoever needs to hear that, repeat that. It's about you. Whoever needs to hear that, get a message. So I decided to like finalize, holding on to family, and finally go after my definition of family. And I realized that people had iced me out, but I didn't realize it's me who was forcing myself into their lives and everything. And me going silent really, really did show me a lot. It showed me a lot, and I was sad and stuff. But I was sad, not sick. I got over it. I got over it. But that means I'm letting those people back into my life. No way, no way, no way. So, as I was saying, people who choose themselves, whatever is going to happen in your life is going to be blessings, unexplainable, not logical. You won't understand. It's like the world is falling apart, but not yours. And you'll see the world all around falling apart, but not yours. Not yours at all. And your world will start crumbling and falling apart when you start seeing yourself as a savior. You're like, oh my God, but things are working out for me. Let me help this person. Let me help that person. Making excuses for them when they did that, and you bring them in. Your world is now gonna crumble, because even in my book, Black and White, no, that is now actually in what colors are. God knows who does not deserve to have your blessings. So God is going to withhold your blessings until you remove people from your life, because as long as they're in your life, you're never going to get your blessings. They do not deserve to partake in your blessings. And God is like, you know what? I was going to bless you, and I only want to bless you. I don't want anyone else to partake in your blessings. And you're still holding on to these people who I do not want to partake in your blessings. So I guess I'm just gonna keep your blessings here to gather dust and stuff until you let go of these people and you get your blessings and partaking them on your own. So probably holding on to family members, onto friends, onto a relationship, onto a career that's not good for you. And as the world is falling apart, you will join into being part of that debris, part of the crumbles and everything. So yeah, choose yourself. Choose yourself. Think about that not so hypothetical situation of if you are trapped, locked down. That's not even a trap. You're not even trapped really. But if you're locked down with those people, how would you feel? And let's say that job you're refusing to let go of. Imagine if you just let go of it and you get something better, that even if something happens and the world shuts down, that job is sustaining you. But the one you're refusing to let go of, even though it's horrible for you, When a lockdown comes and stuff, it's not sustaining you. You don't even have it anymore. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Which reminds me of this song, Bamutu, Bamutu Teta, Bamutu. Oh my God, I can't even pronounce it. By Azawi. And she talks about a woman with a big bum, like a fatty Bombay. She describes a woman's butt as a fatty Bombay. And she says, what you gonna do when she comes for your man? Banange, what you gonna do? Then the next thing is punishing your parents. I think it's gonna be the last thing, because the last thing on my list is what 2024 taught me, and we've kind of read that in the year compass. So punishing your parents, and I feel like I have to mention this because it's the beginning of the year, and this is something that you need to know. Now you see, you may be living your life punishing your parents, but you're actually punishing yourself and you don't know that. Say your parents did you dirty and stuff. You've grown up with this resentment, this pain, this bitterness, this anger. And those feelings are valid, by the way. They are valid. Do not suppress them. Do not ignore them or anything. Feel them fully and get through that wave of all those feelings, all of those emotions. It's what you do with those feelings and emotions that determines whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But your feelings are valid no matter how negative they are. So you have this resentment, this bitterness, this anger, pain towards your parents, and you're like, I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna show you. So you live your life trying to prove a point to them. For instance, you have this great job, and now your parents start bragging about this great job, or you got this great opportunity, maybe educational, and your parents start bragging about this great job of yours or opportunity. They go around talking about, oh, my son, my son works here, my son studies this, my daughter works here, my daughter studies this, my daughter this, my son this, yada yada and stuff. And they're bragging to everyone, and you hate it because a part of you is seeing them happy and you don't want them to be happy. So you quit that job. So you sabotage your educational opportunities that your parents don't have anything to brag about, or your parent does not have anything to brag about. So you drag yourself into the mud, into the gutter to punish your parents. And now you're miserable. You've lost such a great educational opportunity to punish your parents that they have nothing nice to brag about. Your parents are ethnocentric in one or another. They hate a certain tribe, they hate a certain culture, a certain religion, a certain social class, and they keep talking bad about people from certain cultures. They see themselves as superior to other people. So what do? You go and decide, I am going to date this person from this tribe, this culture, this religion, this social class, this race, this community that my parents absolutely hate. And I'm going to prove to them that they are wrong and things can be beautiful. In fact, when things can be beautiful, things are beautiful and they've always been wrong. Only for you to get done dirty in every single way your parents outlined, and even worse. Now you end up becoming like your parents, and actually even worse than your parents, because of what you've been done by this person your parents used to talk bad about. In as much as your parents are horrible people, in as much as your parents are the worst of the worst, in as much as there's so many negatives about them, have you ever sat down to think about how they became who they are? Because you really need to. You need to. And you thinking about their journey, what made them who they are, you acknowledging how they turned out to be who they are, does not mean you justify all the horrible things they did to you. But you knowing how they came to be who they are will save you from becoming like them, from making the same choices as them, from being the same people as them, or even worse than them. In as much as they are horrible people, there's a teeny tiny wincy part of them that gets scared when they see you making the same choices they made that destroyed their lives. It's like some PTSD comes in, and then there's this savior complex, and they try to save you the best way they know they can, even though the way they're saving you is in such a horrible way. And you see that, oh my God, they're just such horrible people and stuff. And I'm not saying embrace them and be like, oh my God, and that's why my parents are like this. I'm not even going to blame them. Life happens and you become a horrible person and stuff. So, even me, it's easier to become the devil I know than becoming a better person. No. You just acknowledge where your parents came from, understand that your dad was just a boy at one point, your mom was just a girl at one point. It does not justify the things they've done to you. It does not justify who they are today, but it does explain their behavior, and that's their history. And one of the benefits of studying history is to learn from the mistakes of the past and not repeat them. So don't date that person to punish your parents. Don't have a child with that person to punish your parents or prove a point to your parents. Don't quit your job. Don't sabotage your educational opportunity. Do not sabotage any good thing in your life because your parents are benefiting from it. Your siblings are benefiting from it. Your aunts, your grandparents, whatever relatives are benefiting from it. Do not sabotage any good thing in your life to teach somebody a lesson because they hurt you and you don't want them to be happy. Do not go doing horrible things, doing things that you're like, you really, really, really want to be a certain profession, but you decide not to be it. You go and become that profession that your parents don't like to prove a point. Your parents wanted you to become a doctor, and you truly did want to become a doctor or a teacher, but you don't want to make them happy. So you go and choose a path that makes you so unhappy. Your cortisol levels are astronomically high just to punish them. Don't do that. Even if what you want mirrors what your parents want, go for what you want. Even if your parents will go and brag about how they were right, they wanted you to be this thing or that thing all along, which makes me think of Agatha All Along. And I think I need to go watch Agatha All Along. I don't even know what it's about. But you be you, even if you being you sounds like something that would make your parents happy. You be you. Stop listening to the negative voices in your ear, in your society, in your community, and everything. Stop living your life getting back at your parents. Your parents are growing old. You two are also growing older. They're just growing much older at a faster rate than you are. You're growing older, but you're energetic, you're youthful, and everything. Your parents might have stolen your childhood from you, but do not serve your youth on a silver platter, golden platter to them to steal again by punishing them in one way or another. They lived their life, they made their own choices, happy ones, miserable ones, even your aunts, your grandparents. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, when you get to generativity versus stagnation, ego integrity versus despair, and you realize you ended up in stagnation and you ended up in despair, I don't know what to tell you, but it's painful. And generativity versus stagnation, ego integrity versus despair is those are the last two stages of the psychosocial stages of development by Eric Erickson. I really love that theory. I love it so much because it explains so much. Like you can look at your family members, at your family, and look at especially the older ones, and look at who falls where, or even look at who is going in which direction. And it doesn't mean if you start veering off in the wrong direction, you cannot come to the right direction. Okay, if you reach to generativity versus stagnation and excuse me, and you've treated people so bad your whole life, by the way, and doing that is gonna be hard because your kids don't want anything to do with you at this point. You mistreated your spouses, they left you, you're all alone, you're looking at your peers and they're happy, their kids are always going to see them and stuff, their siblings are always going to see them and siblings want to associate with them and stuff. But for you, no sibling wants to associate with you, your children don't want anything to do with you don't have friends, nothing. So yeah, so that's it. I hope this episode has been insightful. I hope you choose yourself. This episode helps you to choose yourself, to stand up for yourself, even when it does not make logical sense. But be safe. Be very safe. If somebody is a threat to your security, to your safety, you don't need to come into their face and be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, you plan your moves in silent of how you're exiting in silent. Don't even tell anyone, not even friends, because some people will be like thinking, oh, they're saving you. Because especially if you come from a very toxic family, a very dysfunctional family, there's a friend who's probably thinking, no, you can't do that to your mom, you can't leave your mom, you can't leave your dad. And they believe you're wrong and they start calling your parents and they now intercept your move and something horrible happens to you, horrible things, way horrible things happen to you. So it's best to just move in silence. Sometimes people don't understand why you're making the choices you're making, and that's okay. As long as you understand yourself, that's all that matters. So yeah, that's going to be it. But something tells me to open the past year and look at the last pages and see if there's anything worth mentioning, like what 2024 taught me. I just read for you. There's a part here called The Book of My Past Year. A book or a movie was made about your past year. What title would you give it? And I'd give it. The title is A Letter to Michelle Before 2024 Starts. That's the title of a book or a movie for my past year. So yeah, I really do recommend doing this compass, your year compass. I hope this episode has been insightful. See you in the next full moon, unless I decide to start popping in here every week or something. But see you in the next full moon. Happy full moon in Cancer as it moves into Leo. Be careful with your heart.